Yeah. Hello, everyone. We have
Hello.
the amazing
You doing?
Bobby A.
Woohoo.
Hey everybody, how are you? Thanks for having me aboard.
Thank you for accepting our invitation. People, you know the drill. Subscribe to our channel. Okay, we can start now.
Okay. Okay, let's get stuck in.
Yeah.
What? Tell us, Bobby. Please tell us what is missing from drum education.
That's a good question. More students.
Yeah.
um, you know, truthfully, I'm finding a lack of interest in the instrument the way that maybe you and I, had a fascination for it. So I know as teachers, that's definitely something that we're supposed to inspire in the young generation. But I find that these kids today are so overwhelmingly busy with other activities, and now they're doing a lot of homeschooling in front of a computer or a screen one way or another, that the last thing they want to do is, concentrate on a slow movement to memorize something. And it's another form of mathematics. It's another form of, they just want to chill. So what I think is missing in drumming is a hero, a drum hero that, like a Ringo or a Neil Peart, or a Buddy Rich, or there's millions of them, but somebody they say, wow, I really want to do that. And then they have to find the passion and then find a teacher that will help develop that passion. That's my opinion on that.
Cool. But don't you think that this lack of heroes is due to great facility of access to many heroes? Because one thing that probably made Neil Peart stand out was because you went to somebody's house and they were listening to Rush, and you were like, wow.
Yeah.
And then you listen to Rush, and then somebody showed you another band, and you would listen to that, and you say, wow. Now you go on YouTube, and everybody's so amazing.
Yeah, it's true. We are, I don't know if it's, maybe some people think it's saturated. I think there's a lot of stuff, and there's always been a lot of stuff, but it's now accessible, I remember hearing stories of, for every Tony Williams, there was 3 or 4 or more guys equally as talented that didn't get that gig that propelled them to the spotlight. Now everybody can be in the spotlight by just, taking their phone and fixing their hair, and and if they have, but the thing is you got to still have something to say. So, and I think that the only way to say something is to just be yourself, which is, again, a classic. How many times growing up did you just be yourself? Just be yourself. Just be yourself. People need to embrace that. What I see on a lot of the social media and the way it is now is too many clones of the same thing. Even the way people set their symbols up, and if that's you, do it. If it's you because you're trying to be somebody else, you still got a process to go through, which is, everybody does that. I wanted to be John Bonham once too. Now I'm glad I'm not. The day I turned 33 years old, I said I finally did something that John Bonham and Keith Moon didn't do. I made it to 33. Last month I turned 43, and I said I finally did something that Elvis didn't do. I made it to 43. Be yourself.
That's a great way of looking at it. So I surpassed John Lennon, Freddie Mercury, Eric Carr. So all these guys, I surpassed them because I'm 50 now.
There you go. See, there's always a silver lining.
You know what I was going to say is I agree with you. I think that there is oversaturation, but I'm also going to throw this in there and see what you guys think. Is it also that maybe as a society, we don't hold music as important as we used to? Or maybe there's just so many other things, like you're saying, that just clutter our free time and our wants, our passions. And I just wonder if it's not as given as high regard as it used to. Just a little pondering.
Well, I know for certain, here in the United States, and I'm sure it's the same there for you, musicians since this pandemic have definitely been, nobody gives a crap about us. And, what do they call us, like secondary or incidental? We can't even advertise, like, some of the clubs opened up and you can kind of play, but you can't advertise that you're playing. The band can't advertise and the club can't advertise. Even with all the safety precautions in place. So people think of music as background noise. And, I often think about the way musicians of like the medieval times, when you hit the guy with the lute and, they were just sort of like traveled around with the noble people just for their entertainment, but off in the background. They weren't, oh, come on, lute player, I need your I need your entertainment right now. Then somewhere, maybe since recorded music, maybe last 150 years or so, it became, a commerce. So then people were able to put money behind it, and that was the trend, and that was what people were into. See, the thing is in the 1960s and 70s, the kids weren't into the computers and the tablets and the games and the stuff like they are now. The kids were into, picking up an instrument because that was the gadget. The drumsticks was the gadget, think about pre-Ringo. You had some very highly skilled drummers, and at that point, the drum set was 40 years old, 50 years old. Max Roach, Buddy Rich, Gene Krupa, all those pioneer drummers, Joe Jones. Ringo comes out in 1964 or before that, but like the world knows him in 1964. And I love Ringo, but he had that approach that I think even like Dave Grohl is, to me, the modern day version of that, of like, I can do what that guy's doing. They looked at that and said, I can do that. Every kid, you didn't have to be a Buddy Rich to be a drummer anymore. And I was like, wait a minute, I could hold the sticks match grip. I can wear my hair the way I want. I could be up on stage. The girls are going to scream for me. I want to do that,
That's why we want to do that. Let's be honest.
I want the girls to scream for me too. That's what it's about, people.
We're screaming, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
Drummers, we're being screamed at all the time. You're getting screamed at by the neighbors. You're getting screamed at by the singer. So, hey, just let it keep coming.
Yeah.
So, that's what I think there's that accessibility and that desire to, like, that's what I mean by a hero. Like, wow, that guy's doing that. And if I just practice hard, or if I get my Ludwig drum set up just like that, I can maybe make it. And a lot of great drummers came out of that. And some of them then went back and said, wait a minute, who's Buddy Rich and who's Louis Bellson and who's Max Roach? And then you start getting your Steve Gadds and your, all these other phenomenal players that we're still studying today. And then, of course, there's new people coming up. It's a whole new world. I really love what I'm seeing with the females, finally getting some real respect. I mean, to me, the freshest thing in drumming right now is females. Like Annika Niels, like, to me, she's the epitome of a classic, like, modern drummer. She's female. She knows how to use technology. She composes her music. Her drums always sound impeccable, and her skill level is up there. I mean, it's the whole package delivered today. So to me, that she's nailed it, And I know it wasn't an easy ride for her too. She's, been doing it, for a long time. So
yeah,
well, we all know it's not an easy ride to anyone,
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the other thing, because nowadays everything is so, it's not so easy, but it's a lot easier, with the internet. You go online and you I remember back in, not trying to sound like an old dinosaur, but I am. What can I do? So back in the day of dial tone internet, like a thing like Facebook would never work because it would take like 5 days to download the page.
Yeah.
And now it's like you press and it's there.
Yep.
And playing an instrument, it takes time, So I think also that also contributes a lot, not being easy.
Well, the other thing too is playing an instrument takes time, but then you have to have a commitment too to take, what's the level you want to take it to? When I was 14 years old, I've been playing drums. My first drum set at 10. And I can remember playing as early as 2 or 3 the Blondie records, Clem Burke, that song Dreamin'. I mean, I remember, the old school Italian house where my mother had plastic on the couch. And I took 2 pencils and that to me was a snare drum. Once I poked holes in those plastics, they were like, okay, we got to get this kid a drum set. So at 14 though, I made a conscious decision that I was like, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going all in because it's this or my family grew up, my family had a pizza restaurant or pizza, which I had no problem with the pizza business. It's great business, but that was my dad's thing. I want to do my own thing. And I was like, I'm all in on this. I don't want to be a lawyer. I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to be anything else but a drummer. And so I gave up all sports. I gave up, everything. The only thing I did was work on the weekends, bussing tables at the restaurant, or sometimes help them, whatever they needed at the restaurant. And then I had a band, which we practiced 3 times a week, once or twice at my house and once at the bass player's house. Bass player's family was a funeral director. We would be practicing in the room where, there was no dead bodies in there at the time, but that's where they would, the showing room, that's where we would practice, So that's like dedication. At 14,
That's heavy metal, man.
Yeah.
man, we were doing, but we loved it. We loved it. And then you get to because you mentioned before, Felipe, you get to a point of skill and ability, and that's just starting. That's the starting point. Then you say, well, I got another, like Dom says all the time, I'm going to do this until my body can't do this anymore. And I hope I'm still practicing, Wilcox and paradiddles, man, and trying to oh man, I got to get that dynamic a little bit better, or man, the stick clicked a little bit over there. It's not about perfection. It's about mastery. And mastery is different than perfection. Mastery is that lifelong pursuit of never getting it done and being cool with that. That's how I look at it. And that's what's hard to instill in the students. You have like that 1 or 2 out of every 10 that is going to be in there for the long haul. So what I always do with those students is I say, listen, I know no matter what you do, you're going to play the drums for the rest of your life, one way or the other. You might be pro, you might not, but you're going to do it forever. I could see you got that bug. You can always have a set of sticks and a drum set in the house. Some students, you're like, you're graduating. It was really nice knowing you, and don't give me a ticket if I'm parked in the wrong spot.
Yes.
Remember, I was good to you. Don't give me the ticket.
Do you want to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask you about your book. And the title has just gone right out of my brain. But it's a mindset.
Oh, my book?
Yeah, your book.
Oh, yeah. How to Beat Your Way to Success.
Yeah.
So this was I'm still working on it, and Dom is, putting the pressure on me, he's putting it out there. Your book is out, So it started out as, 2 years ago, I started doing a blog called Bobby's Beat, in which I would put, and that started as I wanted to give my students extra value, once a month, a little page of exercises and a little bit, and here's a historic, a mini magazine. Here's Buddy Rich. He lived from this day to this, and he was famous on these records. And then it started at the same time my father passed away, so I was dealing with a lot of emotions on how to, cope with that stuff. So I was coming up with all these different ideas and writing them down, and they formatted into this Bobby's Beat thing. I was putting one out, one a month, which, it was only a 3-page thing that I was trying to do, and it took a lot of work to just put those 3 pages together. And I was doing it for free, and it was I wanted my students to be with taking lessons with Bobby, I also get this magazine type thing. most of them would never read it because I would always be like, did you check out in my thing this month? And, you know, oh, I didn't check my email. I know you didn't, but it always gives me a reason to bust their chops. Why do you don't check your email when I send you an email? Like, like, what are you in this here? What are we doing? What are we communicating for? Anyway, then the pandemic came this year, and I had like the first 3 months, and and then it started slowing down. I was like, I gotta put this thing into like an every other month kind of thing, and then it just got too hard to do. So, about a month or so ago, 2 months ago, I just started like looking at all those things, and I was like, every one of this, I got like 2 years of this, 24 or so chapters that can be its own, I could expand on it. And I started it as the idea is like, I'm going to put together a free ebook that I can give to people with like 25 bullet points or something. And they can sign up on my website, and I'll get their email address and, build my online presence that way. And then I shared it with Dom, and Dom's like, don't give nothing for free, books, like, and expand this. Like, this chapter over here, you put 5 bullet points. Well, why don't you write 2 or 3 pages on each of these bullet points? So then I started doing it. Now, I think I got about like 100 or so pages done now by just expanding. And what it actually has kind of been is it's kind of half autobiography. Not that I'm nobody famous, but it's my story, It's my story. It's life lessons that I learned from my dad, and how I'm, kind of applying it to my drumming, and also like ways people. It's almost a kind of book that you don't have to be a drummer or a musician to enjoy it, to get benefits out of it. It's kind of it's my story. This is how I did it. Maybe it works for you. Maybe it doesn't, but it's a process for me. And it's also like my way of like, I do these things called Genesis deadlines, which is like where if something's supposed to be due on the 1st of December, you say, I need it done November 1st, so that you really put the pressure on yourself to get it done. And then you have that little bit of leeway time. So I'm using this book as like a little way of a practice, to be honest, for future books and ideas I have. And I've been working on my studio setup. And so I want to hit 2021, like, running hard. To be honest, this year for me has been actually very productive, not financially, but, in terms of, I would have never set this studio up if I was as busy as I normally am. And I would have never took the time to write the book, and I would have never have been as creative. So I feel like I'm 14 again. I feel like I'm in the funeral home again, creating, So it's good. Thanks for asking.
Is it going to be out on Wisdom Media?
I hope. Once I get it done and I send it to Dom and Joe, I was going to ask them to just proofread it anyway, like whether they want to do something with it or not, because I know their experience. I'm going to ask Dom to write a foreword, and Rich Redmond is going to write a foreword for me. So, that's cool. So once I put those 2 names on the cover of the book, we'll see, maybe on the back of the book too. We'll see what happens. So you got to always, as drummers, we got to think in the moment, right? And what I found has been very helpful for me, and this is like the kind of thing I might talk about in my book, is like, how quick I can adjust on the fly on the kit if I'm playing a gig and, the song is going awry, or we have to switch songs or whatever, or, as quick as you have to adapt on the drum set. In life, when you're speaking with people, you kind of need to do that too. And, the way you approach the different kinds of people coming at you, I learned that in the restaurant business. A kid comes in that's a teenager, comes in to pick up a pizza. I'm like, yo, dude, what's up, man? Like I can be like that. But the little old lady comes in and like, hey, ma'am, how are you? Can I take that out to the car for you? You just kind of like give it like a different thing. And when people, when things come up, you know, like you just got to have that quick wit about you. And I think the drum set is really kind of like,
It is.
helped me be witty, you know, and have an answer right away, you know?
Yeah, it is. The drum set, especially because they assume that because we don't deal with the notes, it's just easy.
Right.
And many, many, many times I was playing gigs and somebody would walk in and say, "Oh, that's Joe. He's a great guitar player. Let's call him." And then Joe would come on stage to play a song, and they would talk among themselves what the song was going to be. Never bothered to tell me what the song was. And then all of a sudden, sometimes somebody starts a song, and you have to jump right in, and you don't even know what it is, you know.
When I was 15, Modern Drummer had Ginger Baker on the cover, and he was doing a jazz project at the time with Bill Frisell, and it's great. I love Ginger Baker's jazz stuff, and like the way his drums sounded on that. But he was talking about Cream, and you could tell even back then he was like ornery and everything. And he said, you know, one of the things that really pissed him off was when he'd be tuning up his drums, you know. And Eric Clapton and Jack Bruce would be like, you know, Ginger, shut the F up. You know, we're trying to tune our guitars. And he's like, well, what do you think I'm doing? You know, like, you know, like, what do you think I'm doing here right now? You know, like, I'm trying to get my sound. You know, at 15 years old, that was a very big impression on me. And I understood what he meant. You know, at 15, you know, be quiet. We're tuning. Like, come on, man. You know, it's like the same thing. Like, drummers are supposed to be the metronome. Okay, but musicians should be, you know, should be a metronome too, right?
Yeah, and okay, I can be the metronome, but I want you to play with me. That doesn't mean that you can do whatever you want.
Right. Yeah.
You need to listen.
Yeah.
Yep. It's the worst in the world. Oh man, and you guys probably know this really well. When you go on a gig and you don't start the song, like the guitar player starts the song, and then at the end of the, you know, song, or at the end of the night, the singer's like, yeah, that one song was too fast tonight. You know, no, the song was the tempo it started at and finished at what it started at. I didn't start it.
Yeah, exactly. But I've heard years ago one really good story about that, which Don Perry, when he was playing with Jethro Tull, he was always having, after the gigs, the discuss, oh, that song tonight was too fast. Oh, that song tonight was too slow. Mm-hmm. And then he went to a drum shop and he was talking to the manager. He said, is there anything, any device that is not a metronome? Because I don't want the band to be stiff. I don't want to be stiff on stage, but at least that can give me a ballpark of where the tempo is. Mm-hmm. And the guy said, well, we have this thing it's a thing that you would tap on it, but if you attach one of those contact microphones, so you put a trigger on the snare drum and put this thing, it's going to give you how fast you're playing. So the song is, if the song is 150, it's going to read 60, right? Mm-hmm. So you know you're kind of there. And then with time he said that he, even with odd meter stuff that he had to play, there were some crazy numbers, but he knew kind of what the crazy numbers were. And he said that the moment he bought this thing and he told the band, now I have this thing that will help me with the speed of the song, he never ever had another complaint about if the song was too fast or too slow. And then he said that one night he decided not to turn the thing on. Mm-hmm. No complaints, because now he has the device that's, so he said, you know, this thing of being fast or slow is the person's perception. Right. Yeah. You know, if you're feeling a little bit tired, everything is going to feel a little too fast. Yeah. If you're full of energy, everything's going to feel a little bit too slow. Yeah, it's very personal. So the thing, my key, you know, I have a couple bands that I'm in. I have one band that's for my head, and one band that's for my bread. The band for my bread is a 9-piece, you know, horn band, and we do all that stuff. You know, the leader of the band does not make a set list. He just calls the song out,
because we're primarily a dance band. We do a lot of weddings and a lot of corporate functions. So he's reading the crowd, and he can tell, time for a slow one or time for a, kick it up for Donna Summer or something like that. So there's no way I could have a metronome to do it, so I have to kind of go off of my gut instinct, which thankfully is more or less pretty good. But the thing I always listen for, we have 3 lead singers, and I pay attention to who's singing more than anybody, because if I can tell that they're struggling to get the word out, or if there's too much, sometimes if there's too much space, they forget the lyric, so that's that balance. And so I know if the singing is sounding pretty smooth and they're not gasping and they're not forgetting words, we're in a good zone,
That's a good one.
I saw Steve Gadd at the Iridium. It was mesmerizing to me. Twice at the Iridium, I saw mesmerizing hi-hat work. Once was Steve Gadd and once was Ginger Baker. Ginger Baker, man, he just chomped that thing like quarter notes, and it was crispiest, like solid, like did not move at all. Steve Gadd, on the other hand, the band was starting to slip away from his tempo, and he was playing very delicate, very beautiful, very delicate. But as soon as that band started slipping, his eyes kind of looked at the person, and he was like, here, I'm Steve Gadd, don't, this is it right here, and man, I was kind of right underneath the hi-hat. So I was like, probably only a drummer would have gotten what he was doing there, and it was really cool, how he just subtle but firmly took, not that he lost control, but made sure that, some people weren't going off into La La Land,
I love that.
That's a good one. You have another question, Kira?
Oh yeah, I've got a whole
Go ahead then.
Okay, so it's about your mindset, really, because you seem, really positive, and you've got a really nice vibe about you. And I just wondered, have you always been positive? And the second part of that question is, how do you continue to keep so upbeat, especially in a time like now?
Well, thank you for asking, and thanks for saying that. My wife will tell you that I'm not always this way, and but I will tell my wife, that when we're in the safety zones, that it's okay for me to decompress like every human being does. I'm stressed. I have the same stress as everybody does. But, I have so much to be thankful for that. And, I've been blessed with, my wife is my high school sweetheart. I've known her for, 20-some, almost 30 years, right? So it's one of those things, if it's not broke, you don't have to fix it. So I'm good there. My daughter is the most amazing little kid. Now I got a puppy, which is the first time of that, drumming has always come fairly easy for me. I work at it, but I've it's easier for me than some people, I think, and I've just had lots of great experiences. And when you look around the world, there's so many, more people that I really have no reason to be sad about it. I get stressed and I'll decompress, and, I would say that I'm like a, 85, 90% Yoda, but, 10, 15% Darth Vader sometimes. The thing is, when the Darth Vader side comes out, yeah, I'm passionate. You see, I do everything all in. I've struggled with the gray area of anything, which is why I dye my hair, because I cannot do the Paulie Walnuts from The Sopranos haircut. Everybody, most people, oh, you look good with the salt and pepper. I'm like, yeah, I can't deal with the gray area of things. I'm black and white, So I just try to keep, I came from a very loving family. I just don't have a reason to be negative,
And your Dom's a student. You're not allowed to be negative.
And yeah, and I don't want to copy what Dom says, but what Dom always says, you really own now. And you know, if I died today, you know, I'm pretty cool with like what I've done. You know, I'm doing what I said I was going to do when I was 14, which was make a living playing the drums. I haven't had a real job in over 10 years. You know, like, you know, real job. You know, like that, you know, this is work. This is my job, but like, you know, I haven't punched a clock, let's put it that way. 10 years. And to me, I pride myself on that. And then, of course, you know, I work with children and people who want to learn the drums and talk with other drummers. This is cool. This is like, you know, like, you know, I'm in my world, my zone, you know, like I spend as much time in my zone and in my happy place as possible. And then, you know, if I get stressed out, we crack a Guinness, you know? You know?
Yes.
Nothing that a good Guinness won't solve.
Right.
Exactly.
I found something out about Guinness. It's the only beer I can drink where, like, you know, I don't like, it doesn't like make my stomach, you know, bloated or anything. I'm like, okay, I think I found a little secret here.
Hey, I'm not that lucky. I can drink any beer.
Hopefully, you young kids watching this, you know, you got to wait until you're of age to
Kira, we have 5 minutes. Your last question.
Ooh, oh dear me. Okay. Okay. So what I was really enjoying earlier was watching some of your solos that you've done, and I want to know if you have an approach to solos. If you have like a few motifs that you think, okay, I'm gonna do the hi-hat thing, and then I'm gonna do the tom thing, or if it's just completely in the moment.
Yeah, it's completely in the moment, and I will tell you this: the better look in the crowd, the better the solo.
Nice.
It is really not, you know, like if I got some couple of cute girls in the front, I know I said I got a high school sweetheart, but I'm still a human. See, Darth Vader, Yoda, you know, couple of cute looking girls in the front, and I surprise myself sometimes. But you know, the thing is I'm listening all the time. So if I hear like a little, you know, something that I did, pattern or something that I can build off of, you know, I'll do that. You know, lots of rudiments. You know, I love, you know, the rudiments. I'm all about that. And I'm a little bit like, I like the approach of like the Louis Bellson style solos and the Buddy Rich and Gene Krupa things. And, you know, I'm trying to put a little bit of a fresher spin on it. But the interesting thing is there's a generation of people that don't even know that. So if I'm even doing some of that stuff like they did, it seems new to them. So this stuff always comes around. I put my own spin on it, and I have a couple like, you know, things that I do so the band knows I'm coming back out, you know, speed up at a certain thing, cymbal kind of thing. And it also depends on the context. Like, you know, when I take a solo with my band, The Accents, it's always after the song Soul Man. So I kind of have like this sort of vibe going. There's people on the dance floor. I don't want the people to leave the dance floor. You know, if I was to just do a free solo where I was not, you know, I was just exploring my drums and my sounds and techniques and stuff, it could sound completely different off the moment, just like I'm doing right now. I didn't have anything prepared for this. So the way I'm speaking to you is the way I solo.
Yeah, we have to be honest. Kira is very prepared for all interviews all the time. She has her little notes and see, you know.
That's great.
No, it's just because my brain is a sieve. Like I can't retain information. As you know, talking about getting older, folks. You know, this is what happens. I can't remember. You know, so I have to write it down. Otherwise, I'm just like.
I think there's another factor too, Kira. You have 2 small daughters. Yeah. That also helps.
Yep. Well, you know, it's true because our attentions could only go, you know, I find myself writing things down a lot more. The problem with that is then I'm like, where did I put the paper? You know, you know. So I'm trying to streamline things down to like 3 important things. Matter of fact, here's a good practice tip for people. One of the things I do is I'll take a blank sheet of paper and I'll draw like a T-bar, so like a cross. So the paper has 4 sections. and I'll take the 3 most pressing things that I want to practice and put that in each box. And let's say I wanted to practice for 2 hours, which is rare these days. Each section would get 25 minutes with a 5-minute break away from the drum set, literally walk away from the drum set. Right? So then you have 3 sections of about a half an hour. The 4th section is I leave open for, okay, if I did all these 3 things, you know, here you can practice the song, or you can solo, or you can do the fun thing, or but, you know, usually some kind of a warm-up type thing. That's the first box. The second box is, you know, the main focus, the thing I really want to, you know, put some, you know, at least 20 minutes of focused time on. The third box might be like a review of what I've been doing for the last 3 or 4 days. And then the 4th box is like, and then you can tweak that. If you can't do 2 hours, you know, can do only an hour, you do 15, 15, 15, 15. And I just like the simplicity of, you know, making it like a cross, and in a way, it makes it kind of like a spiritual thing for me too, because I feel like I'm doing like this Holy Trinity, you know, kind of.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost.
And you know, our talents come from somewhere, and you know, I gotta give props to wherever they come from. So you know.
Excellent, great. Well, unfortunately, it's all the time we have for today. It was an absolute pleasure to have you here. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation. Kira,
thank you.
What do you want to say?
That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
I've got a smile on my face. I'm proper pumped. I was like so like tired, and now I'm like, let's go.
Let's practice. Let's practice.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I enjoy, you know, being on, and I enjoy watching everything that you guys are putting out. And it's, even though you guys are 3,000 miles away, you guys might as well be like cousins of mine right here, you know. So hopefully someday we can sit down at the table and I will make you all a nice pizza.
Cool. I'm gonna hold you accountable for that. You have to do it. Cool. Thank you very much, Bobby.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.